The time is 8:03 p.m. It is, well, the day is January 27th. I lose track of my days here and there, but this is another update of Great Lakes weather. Hopefully everyone's doing well today. Interesting pattern coming up, needless to say. Saturday night is going to be a wild and very unpredictable storm that's going to be going through Michigan, particularly Saturday night. We're seeing a lot of model variabilities, and a lot of changes could lead to, well, there could be significant changes in the forecast as we get towards this event. Even though we're only about 24 hours out, there is still a lot of model variability, and kind of determining where the line of rain to snow transition is rather difficult at this current moment. So there's a lot of scenarios that could play out with this storm. So we're going to go into deep detail about exactly how this storm is setting up and what every model is saying regarding potential for snow accumulations, because there's a lot going on in this particular setup. So make sure to subscribe, stay updated. We'll continue to provide updates as needed, maybe try to do some live updates as we get close to the event and model consistency starts to align. But right now, those models really are giving us a question mark in regards to where the snow is going to fall. But there is a definite certainty that snow is going to fall somewhere in Michigan. The question is it going to fall farther north, or is it going to be displaced farther south? If it falls farther north, then we're going to see quite a bit more rain on the southern side. So let's have a look at that right now with what the latest from the National Weather Service. First of all, we'll begin with them. Always good to begin with them. So here's what's going on. We have a low pressure system moving in from the west. It is going to shift into the Great Lakes region come tomorrow afternoon into the night hours. Okay, so around the time period of, I'd say this time, we're going to start to see some snow falling. Let's zoom in to Michigan here so you can see that there is a very decent chance, in fact a 100% chance of greater than 1 inch of snowfall across Grand Rapids, those areas in northern place. Right here is the biggest uncertainty, okay? How much snow is going to fall in this area that is shaded in blues and greens and so on and so forth, okay? There's several models that are saying it's going to be farther north, okay? But there are also a couple models, some reliable models that are actually keeping it farther south as well. So there's a lot of questions here with this setup. If you go and look at the greater than 4 inch of snowfall potential, greater than 4 inches of snow does appear possible in parts of central Michigan still, according to what the National Weather Service is projecting. But you do have that greater than 1 inch snowfall potential, and then you also have it kind of broadening out across much of the Great Lakes region as we go into Saturday night. Okay, and you can see that there is a good chance that you could have a little more than up to 6 inches of snowfall, or maybe even more than that, across central Michigan, according to the National Weather Service. All right, so there will likely be a couple slight shifts as we get there, but those slight shifts are going to mean a big deal, because right now we're currently watching the potential for a wintry mix or rain to snow line kind of emerging over this area here, which will make it pretty nasty, especially if you get some freezing rain thrown into that setup there. So let's get into exactly what is going on with the models and just get an overview of how this is going on. Okay, so today we've had that Alberta Clipper that has just been bringing some snow to much of the area, and in fact some pretty gusty snow. You've probably seen some blowing and drifting out there, and that has been pretty common regarding this particular snow event. And what we're watching here is that low pressure system that's off to the west. Okay, you can see it's kind of forming over Wyoming, and it's actually just going to continue to drag eastward. You can kind of see that there and how it kind of sets up. But you do have that snow setting up. The GFS, one of the models that's just placing it a little bit farther south, is showing the rain to snow line kind of happening at the Michigan, Indiana, Ohio line. Okay, so you do see that transition from rain to snow across parts of Indiana, Ohio. I'd say Indiana, Ohio, you're probably out of the neck of the woods of seeing a lot of snow. Maybe not. Wouldn't be surprised if you saw maybe some freezing rain or a little bit of ice from this. But I do think anywhere in southern Indiana, southern Ohio, you don't have to really worry about heavy snow with this particular event. I really think the focus is going to be Michigan, but the question is, where is that range of snow line going to set up? All right, so let's zoom in real quick on what is happening right now. This is the HRRR, okay? They're actually updating the models right now, so hopefully we can get a chance to see those as we get closer, but I do think it's not going to update in time for this video. But let's have a look at what the HRRR is showing right now. You do see lake effect snow continuing overnight tonight in some spots. Okay, you saw a lot of lake effect snow, especially in parts of Allegan, Barry counties. Those places saw a lot of snow related to that lake effect snow event they had the other night. But here is that next system that's coming in, that low pressure system you can see traveling across Nebraska, Kansas, and bringing snow to that area. The HRRR model is actually showing that the rain to snow line is going to be displaced farther to the north. All right, so that means it's going to be relatively warmer temperatures. Interesting though, you go to a check of the models and you do see the temperatures are at 27 degrees. This is a very decent setup for a wintry mix, maybe even some freezing rain. As you look here, you do have a very quickly warming part of the atmosphere just above the surface, and you do see temperatures are still at 27 degrees at the surface. I would not be surprised to see some freezing rain potential from this event in parts of Michigan. You can see that it's evident with the pinks and purples that are in that rain to snow line area. I wouldn't be surprised if we even saw some freezing rain farther to the south, especially with snow that's already on the ground. That surface snow will keep things cooler as well with this event. So if you get a sounding of where the rain is falling, you have a temperature of 37 degrees, so the temperature will warm somewhat above freezing according to what some of the models are saying, but then it will cool back down quickly behind this, back down to 35 degrees there. You can see that, and then as you go back farther, it does show a little bit of slight lake effect snow potential. I don't know if that lake effect snow potential will amount to anything, but you do see the temperature cools back down into the 20s as that moves through. But look at the difference between a lot of snow for this area is just if this shifts south or shifts to the north. All right, so there's a lot of questions still being asked. I do think this area is going to see a good deal of snow still, regardless of where it is placed, but it does look like wintry mix looks more possible across the south, which again can be messy depending on how much snow falls along with that wintry mix. So this system is highly unpredictable. There's really a lot that we're going to have to ask questions about up until the actual event even begins. These models are really kind of given some variabilities on this setup here. But the real concern for me is when I go to this setup and I do see that just above the surface you have that quick warming trend from freezing point up into about 40 degrees. You see that with typical freezing rain, sleet, and even grapple setups. So this could be something that really could change the game. Best guess precip type freezing rain, you can see according to what the sounding says. And if you go a little bit further into here, the best guess for precip type according to this sounding is snow, despite the fact that this area is showing rain. So there's going to be a lot of questions we're going to have to answer come up to this event. So very unpredictable scenario. I do think anywhere north of Grand Rapids is probably going to see snow in the lower peninsula based on what the HRRR is saying. The NAM actually agrees with the HRRR, but the GFS and the ECMWF do not agree with these two models, which those are two very reliable models as well. So the question is which one is right and which one's going to shift to fit kind of a consistency where we can actually make an accurate depiction of what's going to happen. So this right here is the ECMWF. You're going to see that if I show you what the setup is there, also showing that snow line really settling up over Indiana and Ohio. You get a sounding in that general area, and you do see still that gradual warming trend in that part of the atmosphere that's just above the surface, and the best guess precip type still remains to be snow. You do have the dendritic growth zone that still does remain below freezing. So really tough setup here to forecast with the soundings that are currently in place. So let's take a look at the snow total comparison. Now, where are these models saying this could possibly go? Okay, this is the ECMWF and GFS, the more southern mode setup for based on what the models are currently saying. So you do see that rain to snow line really settles up over southern parts of Michigan, where you get about 3 inches of snow in St. Joe County. Okay, so that's kind of that's what is currently being shown there, and it kind of lifts off to the northeast. Really, places wherever that rain to snow line sets up, there's a lot of places that are just to the south of that won't see next to nothing in terms of snow. So this is the more southern play. You do see that there's 4 to 6 inches likely across parts of Grand Rapids, Allegan, Barry counties, Hillsdale County, is actually, well, actually not Hillsdale County, but these areas up to the north are going to be dealing with snow totals of possibly about 6 inches of snow. Wouldn't be surprised to see that where that heavier snow band sets up. GFS also giving that southern mode. In fact, even farther south than the Euro even shows, with snow totals of up to 4 inches as far south as St. Joe County. And then you also have Calhoun County, 6 inches of snow, and then some snow rolling through. And again, this will likely be mixed with possibly some other forms of wintry precipitation given the changes that are occurring just above the surface with the atmospheric conditions that are just above there. So it's still going to have questions as to what precipitation falls, which is why you can see the snowfall totals are still a little bit lower in this area. Then you have the HRRR. Look how far north the HRRR changes the game with regards to this setup. You do have snow totals of next to nothing south of Grand Rapids here and south of Lansing as well. Not much snow being shown by the HRRR models, when in fact far north you get even more snow, more intense snow setup. It looks like 6 to 10 inches according to the HRRR. Now, I'm wondering if the HRRR is going to shift south, because right now you have the GFS and Euro kind of agreeing rather consistently, which usually if they're agreeing rather consistently, that's a pretty reliable scenario. But you do have also the HRW is also kind of helping with that more southern mode of snowfall, which again looking more common amongst a lot of the models. But then you have the NAM model, which also displaces it farther north with not much snow south of Kalamazoo and south of Lansing. So you can really see why we have so many questions about this system still, even 24 hours out. It is a very confusing scenario. You have the RDPS again also showing that farther southern mode and actually showing a little bit more snow with this setup. So very, very variable setup with this event that is occurring right here. I do want to show you the NWS blend of models and what that is exactly showing for snowfall totals. Now they're showing a broader amount of snowfall. Okay, so they actually do displace it even farther to the north as well, but also allow some liberties of dropping the snowfall, the snow belt a little bit farther to the south as well, with 2 inches of snow in Kalamazoo County, 1 inch in about St. Joe County. This will likely be associated with some sleet, maybe some freezing rain as well, depending on where that rain to snow line sets up. Very difficult pattern to forecast here. Something that's going to really tax on a lot of meteorologists, I would say, over the next 24 hours. Then here you have the freezing rain potential. There is a little bit of freezing rain potential. I don't think it's going to be a huge freezing rain event, but it is going to bring some possibilities for some freezing rain. You can see there's going to be a few hundredths of an inch of ice accumulation possible in some spots, and then the HRRR also hinting at that with the farther north, the mode that's farther north. The HRW really projects a lot more ice than I would say would be probable, but you do see across all the models a threat of some type of ice accumulation, which will lead to travel impacts. Basically, there will be some travel impacts. Doesn't look like they're going to be too major. I would say the places that would most likely get the most impacts is the places that are in that main snow belt. So there is going to be a lot of questions we will need to answer. There will likely be a live stream regarding it tomorrow, so stay tuned for that, and also subscribe so that you can get access to that information. But you guys see there's a lot of questions here, and hopefully we'll have more answers tomorrow morning. Let's make sure that the HRRR model hasn't updated enough for us to see exactly what could be going on. Not yet. We won't be able to get that until a little bit later, so we'll have to just wait on that for a little bit. But stay tuned, and we will see how things turn out. See you at the next available opportunity, which will likely be tomorrow.